All right, you know it's going to be a good one when I haven't even dried my hair because I was so excited to record the video. Here we go. Bitcoin has seen a very interesting set of price action lately, and I think that we can actually gain a little bit of an insight into what might be happening with Bitcoin if we look at the S&P 500 chart, and so that's right here. And the real thing that I just want to draw your attention to on this chart is actually my moving average right here. This is the 100-day moving average, and it's a very popular moving average for the S&P 500, and specifically what I want to draw your attention to is every time the S&P 500 actually collapsed below this line. So like right here and right here, I want to focus your attention on this and then show you what might be happening over here. And also it's very important to note that generally these markets, the S&P 500, this index and Bitcoin, they generally tend to move in the same way, right? So when the S&P 500, and I think I really should have dried my hair looking back because this looks very unprofessional, I'm sure, but generally they're going to move correlated, right? Like if Bitcoin's rising or if the S&P 500 is rising, generally they're going to be moving in the same direction. And that's really, really important because it's actually a demonstration of investor confidence, right? At the end of the day, the S&P 500, if for some reason you don't know, this is a collection of some of the top 500 companies in the United States, and it's an index. So if a company falls out of the top 500, another one comes into it. It's always a representation of the best in the US economy. It's a big, very important metric. And what's important about this specifically is that if your top companies in a big country like the United States are making money, are profitable, are producing good returns on the stock market, investors are going to feel confident and they're going to be looking to put their money in Bitcoin. And that's why this is important, right? I mean, Bitcoin warriors, you guys have no fucking sense of realism. You think that Bitcoin is the only thing in the world that matters, but it's actually one of the things that matter the least, in my opinion. And the conventional markets are showing that to us very clearly when they're in a little bit of trouble. Bitcoin totally shits the bed because nobody wants to hold a risky asset like Bitcoin if the safer markets, the indices, are not performing so well. And what's quite concerning about this is if we actually look at what happened to Bitcoin way back in let's use this chart right here, way back in 2018 and 2019, I want to draw your attention to this drop right here. This drop when Bitcoin fell from $6,000 down to $3,000 was, in my opinion, one of the worst drops Bitcoin has ever seen. And the reason for that is it was quite dramatic. It was like a cliff edge fall where very, very quickly, within 2 weeks, the price nearly halved and dropped by 44%. And then, of course, down to its absolute low, it did pretty much halve. And that took about 30 days only, right? So to lose half of your money in 30 days is absolutely obscene. I mean, that is some very, very fast asset loss right there in terms of value. But what's even more concerning is that this actually coincided with what happened on the S&P 500 at the very same time. So take a look at this. This was the occasion right here at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, where the S&P 500 had actually failed its 100-day moving average in some significant capacity. We have failed this moving average many times in the past, even in our trend, relatively recently, towards the end of 2020, even in 2021, we lose this line quite often. It's fine, it's not a big deal. But when you have real trading that actually takes place below the line, that's where it gets concerning. Like right here, again, at the end of 2018, this is again right when Bitcoin dropped down from $6,000 to $3,000, and this can potentially tell us where Bitcoin is going to go as well. I'm going to talk about the more bullish stuff as well. You guys know the deal. Like I don't sugarcoat things. I'll tell you exactly what I'm seeing on both sides of the spectrum. But for now, this side is very, very important, and it does show us that Bitcoin could, I mean, theoretically, if it does the same thing, we're looking at like a $20,000 Bitcoin. So anyway, let me get to that in just a minute, guys. Smash up the likes if you're finding this video useful so far. If I've shown you something that you perhaps didn't even think to look at, then yeah, do me a favor and yeah, just smash up those likes as we are going along here. Make sure you're subscribed as well, because this content is very time sensitive, as you already know. But the key thing is, yeah, when we start, quite seriously, trading downwards with some consistency below that 100-day moving average, that's where things can actually get pretty bad, pretty uncomfortable for Bitcoin. I'm sorry, for the S&P 500 index. And what we had right here was not only did we fail and drop below this moving average, but we also came back up to test it as resistance once, twice, and thrice in total, 3 times in total, and that's where we got a big rejection. And we have had rejections again previously. I just want to show you how, like, this is nuanced. This is not just a as soon as you drop below this line you're fucked kind of thing. A lot of analysts and traders out there will take that kind of approach because they're not real traders and they just look like, okay, well, if we drop below the moving average, we're in the shit. But I mean, you know, what happens over here or over here or over here? You know, like, you have to think these things through. You have to actually apply a little bit of nuanced thought to this, and that's what I'm trying to bring here. And so, you know, dropping below the line itself isn't a big deal, but it's when you start kind of really consolidating under it, when you consistently are finding resistance under it, that's where it can start to become a little bit more concerning. Because if we keep trying to pierce this line, this moving average, and we're not able to get above it, well then, you know, we have to drop down. If we can't break resistance, then we're probably going to collapse below support. And that's what was different over here. You see, we ended up testing this area once, but the second time we were able to climb above it, and so it flipped into support. Look at that, right? Very, very interesting how we interacted with this level. And it just goes to show you again that TA really does work. Now, what's important about this is if I just play the Bitcoin chart side by side at this very same time, you're going to notice something again, which is quite concerning in my opinion. Let's take this onto the 1 day time frame and show you what happened back here. You know, if you just look at where my crosshair is at the moment, you know, this big drop for Bitcoin, looking at the right side of the screen right here, this pretty much coincided with the third leg, the third leg down, or I guess you could call it the second, you know, where the S&P 500 really started to struggle, right? This peak, very interestingly, if I were to draw a circle right here, this peak coincides perfectly with this peak. And it's not even a big peak in Bitcoin. You know, when the S&P 500 is weak, Bitcoin is very, very weak, because again, it's about investor confidence, right? You know, if people are not confident in a major index in the United States, what makes you think they'd be confident in Bitcoin? You know, I mean, the maximalists that can't stop fucking jacking themselves off to the same fucking philosophy will tell you that actually, you know, if these conventional markets are doing poorly, then Bitcoin should perform well. But that just hasn't happened. It just consistently doesn't work that way, because at the end of the day, your philosophy aside, your fucking wet dream of Bitcoin taking over the US dollar aside, the fact of the matter is, the bulk of the money that moves into these markets is coming from white collar environments, is coming from the more conventional, you know, suit and tie, Wall Street, you know, whatever, like, you know, entities, large entities, people that, you know, have been in the game for a long time, and they just don't like taking risky bets when their safe bets are performing badly. It's actually a totally reasonable thing when you think about it. You know, you won't like, you know, if you've just fucking lost half your money, or in this case, I mean, let's measure the S&P 500 from its high down to this low right here. If you lost 10% of your money and you're a billionaire, you know what I mean? Like, you're probably not going to be as inclined to then look at, you know, Bitcoin, which at the very same time drops even more. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, you want to take risky bets when you've already made money, when you feel a little bit of abundance, not necessarily when you've just been losing money, especially in what you would deem to be a very safe place. If a safe place isn't actually that safe anymore, what do you think a risky place is going to be? Very, very important question to ask ourselves. And what's quite important about this is, again, if we just kind of bring back this S&P 500 chart, and actually just before I move on, I just want to point out to you guys that yes, I mean, as soon as we started to get this drop, it got worse and worse and worse, and the S&P 500 bottomed out a little bit after Bitcoin actually bottomed out. So that's interesting how Bitcoin bottomed out a little bit later on, a little bit earlier, but I mean, only a matter of days. I mean, we're talking like a 3-day difference. So in my opinion, this is pretty much still the same thing. If I looked at this on the weekly time frame, it would still be telling me all the same things, you know, that I've been saying right here, right? I mean, if we just take a look at this on the weekly, bam, switch this onto the weekly as well, and see what we were dealing with back here in 2018-19. The S&P, I'm sorry, the moving average obviously doesn't hold up anymore, because now we're looking at the 100-week moving average, not the 100-day. But you can still see at the very same time. I mean, if you look at the crosshair for when we bottomed out on the S&P 500, you compare it to Bitcoin, you know, it bottoms out at pretty much exactly the same place. It's very, very interesting how it happens. And what's important is that if we then, let's just move us back to the S&P 500 to the present day and now, and talk about what we're seeing here. You know, we're dealing with the same moving average, with the same problem. You know, I mean, we have managed to, and again, it's not completely gone yet. This is the thing I've been talking about with regards to Bitcoin for a while, right? Like, we're not shit out of luck on this occasion right here, but you know, I mean, we have fallen below it. We've spent quite a bit of time below it. You know, there's a few different metrics that can tell you how serious it is. And one of them is, how long did you spend below the moving average? You know, so on this occasion, for example, the market fell below the moving average. This was in 2018, just before the big crash right here, the one I've been talking about in this video. You know, the S&P 500 index spent about 50 days below the 100-day moving average, right? If we bring this to the present day now and take a look at what's been happening over here from the time that we fell below this moving average to the present day. We're now at day 90, and that puts it into perspective a little bit, how, you know, the longer we spend below these moving averages, the more inherently bearish that is, right? If we lose a resistance level, if we lose a support level and we're not able to reclaim it quickly, we're probably not going to reclaim it. You know, one of my favorite analogies for this, because it's so true, you know, but not necessarily because it's pleasant, is you know, if you look at like hostage negotiation situations with hostages, generally what you'll read is that if you don't manage to save the hostage within the first 72 hours, you may never, I mean, your chance of never freeing them goes up exponentially. Like, it gets way harder if you don't do it straight away. And it's the same thing for these markets. You know, if you fall below a support level, but then you quickly scramble above it, you're fine. It's totally fine. It's okay. But if it's been 90 days, you know what I mean? Like, you're starting to push it. Again, if we take a look at what happened back in 2018, 2019, we fell below this level, and before the big crash, it only took 50 days. You know, so you know, we're actually much further ahead in this case. And until the low, it took 77 days, and then in order to finally reclaim this level, 114. So you know, we're really struggling right now. I mean, by now, ideally, we would be kind of well on that path to recovery, and we very well might be. You know, we did manage to break above it right here, but of course we didn't keep that gain, and I think that's you know, quite an important thing to keep in mind, because at the moment, if we are going to continue to find resistance at this line, you know, perhaps we make another leg up and we try and, you know, reclaim this, but if it gets rejected again, you know, we are looking at quite a potentially significant drop to the downside. And if we measure what happened last time, I mean, this was a 16.04% drop to the downside. I mean, if we got something similar to that right now, you know, again, I mean, when the S&P 500 had this last time at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, Bitcoin halved, right? And so if that were to happen again, that's kind of our path to it. And you know, this is, I think, really important. This is one of the things that is kind of make or break for Bitcoin. You know, I just don't see Bitcoin performing well if the wider economy isn't. I just don't see it happening that way. Not even economy, but mainly the stock markets, because they're not really the same thing. You know, I don't think that if the stock markets are performing badly, that Bitcoin is going to be able to muster the strength, because who's going to want to buy Bitcoin in an environment where your safe bets are losing you money? You know, it's just not an environment where the mass public are going to want to take risks. I mean, it's a phenomenal time to buy it. It makes sense to buy at times like that, you know, for you and I, you know, like actual legit traders that are trying to make money in these markets. But for people who, you know, are, you know, not like that, which is the majority, you know, they're just not going to want to FOMO in at a time like this. And I think that's really important, guys. I mean, you know, having that perspective is absolutely essential to good trading. And this is what I aim to show you guys inside of 𝗓𝗏ly's VIP. I just want to quickly segue into this and mention that discount we were running, the more than half price discount, ends tonight. This is literally the last day we're going to be running that discount. So if you do want to jump inside of VIP and gain access to everything we're offering for more than half price off, as well as getting more free time with your membership, we're giving free time on top of your membership, up to 2 months free, and you're paying less than half. You're getting a lot of extra stuff there. Yearly members get phone calls with me. You guys already know the deal with that. It is absolutely phenomenal. I love getting on those calls as well. It's all right here by following the first link in the description down below, then clicking on my @𝗓𝗏lys button at the bottom of any post inside of 𝗓𝗏lys Gold. This is my free Telegram channel where I give you more analysis like this around the clock on these markets. Obviously, I don't upload daily, but I do post damn near daily in 𝗓𝗏lys Gold. So you get a lot in there completely free of charge. And the way to join again is, you just click on my name and then you click on send message to ask me how to join VIP. And again, that discount ends today, so take advantage of it if you've been on the fence about it. But yeah, right here, bringing us back to the S&P 500, I think this is very, very important, because if we do see a similar drop to that, though, yeah, I mean, that could spell quite a bit of disaster for Bitcoin right here. And then just taking a look at Bitcoin, you know, we fell down to the next area of support that I mentioned. You know, I said that if we fell below this green line at 42, we're probably coming all the way down here. I did mention that there is support at $40,000, and you can see that on this chart. But I was definitely looking at this red line a little bit more. So no surprises there. We did end up finding support exactly where we've anticipated. The analysis from this YouTube channel has been spot on, guys. I mean, I don't know if you were paying attention to it at the peak right here, but you know, I started getting nervous at the top. I started getting excited at the bottom. You know, very, very well played right there. Ethereum, you guys already know the deal. I entered a long position on Ethereum right here at this yellow line and rode it all the way up to the very, very top. Around here, slightly higher, is where I closed the whole position, or what was left of the position. It was just over a 200% profit, so absolutely phenomenal. Again, that all happened inside of VIP, and I've been looking for the next trade setup as well. You know, I mean, the reason that I was able to pull off this trade is I don't rush those processes, and so I'm able to, you know, aim for home runs fairly well when I see them. And of course, at a time like this, we're seeing huge volatility, so this is the best time to get in, to be able to gain the bottom and the top so well. To me, I mean, I'm just very, very happy with it. I'm very grateful that I was able to pull that off, and of course looking to continue to do that. That's what you guys know me for. If you've been following me for a long time, you know, I just managed to pull these things out of the bag, and it is always a very, very fun process. So again, steps are on screen right here if you do want more than half price off on this final day that we're running this offer. But again, yeah, just bringing us back to the charts here. You know, I am looking at Bitcoin potentially, well, I mean, it found support here, you know, found resistance at the top. We're kind of back in this consolidation range, so it is an equilibrium, but it's about understanding the context that we're in this range with now. You know, like previously, it was pretty bad, but I think there was some reason to expect that we might be blowing up, and you know, we were kind of open to that on this YouTube channel. Now that we've managed to get that rise up, I mean, we're out of the Ichimoku cloud, guys, on the daily time frame. This is something that I was talking to you guys about quite a bit. We're just barely out of it right now, so you know, I mean, this has very much been confirmed as you know, quite a serious area of resistance. But I think the good news that I want to remind you guys about about now is that you see previously this resistance cloud, if we measure it, stretches quite a large range. I mean, this is the 26% range for the cloud, but it's really closing up. You know, now it's going to be about 16% if we manage to mount another attack to the upside, and that's something that I want you guys to keep in mind. You know, because we have now been able to actually see this pullback and you know, but still attack the upside in this way. We have made these resistance levels weaker. So if we do manage to mount an attack now, I think that you know, we have to overcome some of the harder areas. Like, we're going to have to break 42 again, we're going to have to break 46 again, but the resistance is just a lot lighter, in my opinion, this time around, because we've already hit them. Of course, the fear and greed index also is massively in our favor right now. If we look at how low this dropped, it fell down to 20. It is now recovering fairly quickly, a bit too quickly in my opinion, but I love seeing that we managed to fall right into extreme fear once again. That's a very good sign, in my opinion, showing us that the market is kind of being cleansed out a little bit. You know, obviously the last time that we were trading over here, this was the 16th of March. Let's take a look at where the fear and greed index was at that point. On the 16th of March, we were at a reading of 24. So actually, that's not very good, because we're slightly higher this time at the very same price level. Ideally, we want to be more fearful at the same levels. So I'll take that back a little bit right there. But it's different at different points, right? I mean, obviously we're gaining a little bit of excitement because there was a bounce just before. If we take a look at the equivalent price range, but on the 19th of February, where the context is that we were dropping, so very similar to right now. Let's see what the fear and greed index says then, 19th of February. So let's go back all the way to the 19th. And we were at a reading of 25, so still hovering generally around the same places that we're at right now. Yeah, I mean, look, it is a representation of a lot of progress being lost, but at the end of the day, I mean, we haven't broke market structure. We didn't break market structure to the upside. I suppose, yeah, we did, because we broke 46, but only barely. You know, and to the downside, we haven't broken it either. So for me, as long as this line stays intact, we're still good to some extent. And the other thing, of course, that I think is really important, and I spoke about this in the last video, is I'm just looking for the line, bear with me. This line right here, if we look at this on a very large time frame, switch it onto the weekly, and remove my drawing right here, you know, this support line to me is very, very important. Look at that fat weekly cloud as well right here. I mean, I don't know how big that looks to you, but that is quite a substantial. It's looking like a 30% Ichimoku cloud on the weekly time frame. It's got some very good long-term support right here, and this line again to me is the absolute bottom line for Bitcoin. Again, I just want to stress this. As long as this line holds, I'm not actually too worried. Even if it drops, I'm not worried. You guys know me, like I'm not fucking scared of the market moving like that, because there's just opportunities at the end of the day. There's going to be some great opportunities to make money on the way down. You best believe I'm going to be taking advantage of that right inside of VIP along with the rest of our members right there. We've got over 1,000 members in VIP, by the way, so absolutely huge. If you do want to jump inside, definitely take advantage of it by, again, following the first link in the description. And like I said, it is the final day of our sale, so at least find what the information is if you have been curious. And yeah, we're right here with this cloud and this support. I mean, as long as it holds, we're good. If it doesn't hold, again, I'm looking at kind of like $20,000, but I would be quite surprised if we fell below 20,000. And I think, again, a lot of this is going to depend on the wider stock market and so on as well. So these are things that I'm keeping an eye on, and it's very useful to be able to conduct this kind of analysis, because, you know, sometimes Bitcoin is going to be quite difficult to read just because it is a very irrational asset. It's quite heavily manipulated and so on. You know, the S&P 500, because it's just way more liquid, it's had a lot more history, it is easier to read. And if that allows us to get an insight on Bitcoin, then that's extremely powerful. So I'm really happy to see that, not to see that we could drop, but that there is some clear analysis that I can kind of pull out of this, and it helps me put my next moves in a little bit more context. So I'm just watching this right now. If this thing really starts to take a turn for the worst, especially with the S&P 500, I cannot be optimistic about Bitcoin, but that 33K level is still my bottom line. Honestly, I don't think that's too bad. We're already sitting at 39 right now. Dropping down to 33 to me wouldn't actually be the worst thing in the world. You know, so anyway, that's just me speaking out loud. Ethereum obviously is very much at the mercy of Bitcoin, and it's the same to the rest of these altcoins as well. Cardano continuing to lose ground now that the market is you know, in quite an unhappy grind at the moment. Solana as well, not showing its best days, but it is at an important Fibonacci retracement level at 618. Quick look at LUNA as well, because I've been very fascinated by it. LUNA also basically just staring down the edge of a cliff before potentially dropping significantly lower. The problem with LUNA, of course, is that there's no support. You know, I mean, it managed to rise up so quickly without finding any real resistance that it's just very hard to expect it to find support. You know, so from $82 here, I'm seeing 76 right here as a potential area of support, but below this, I don't know, if I'm being generous, $66, and yeah, probably 57 is the next real area of support that I see for LUNA. And so those are the things that I'm watching out for right there. But with that, guys, I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Once more, this discount ends tonight, so take advantage of it by following the first link in the description down below. If you want to jump inside of VIP, watch how I'm going to be continuing to slay these markets, gain access to the trade breakdown videos that I make, where I'm literally talking to you guys about you know, the decision-making processes that go into me making a trade, how I commit to them, how I, you know, kind of shy away from them if I don't feel they're totally safe, and so on. There's a lot of very, very useful information in there, and it's all with the first link in the description down below, so do take advantage of that if you're interested. And with that, guys, I really hope you have enjoyed this video. Do me a favor and smash up the likes. If you have, hit the subscribe button, take the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.